Before we dive into the chilling details, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment, because this story is dark, twisted, and you don't want to miss a single moment. Trust me, once it starts, you'll be hooked until the final reveal. It was a quiet winter night in Columbia, Maryland, the kind that blankets neighborhoods in an eerie stillness. The kind of night where even the faintest sound, footsteps on the pavement, a door creaking, sends a shiver down your spine. But that stillness was about to be shattered. On December 31st, 2025, a man walked into the Howard County Police Department reporting that his ex-girlfriend, 27-year-old Nikitha Godishala, had gone missing. His voice was calm, almost too calm, yet his eyes darted nervously across the room, betraying a hint of unease. He claimed he hadn't seen her for hours and was worried for her safety. Detective Lisa Romero, a veteran investigator with over 15 years on the force, was the first to take the call. Something about the man's demeanor didn't sit right. "You can't fake instinct," she would later tell colleagues. "There's a difference between worry and calculation." I felt calculation. Meanwhile, neighbors of Nikitha began to stir. Social media posts asking if anyone had seen her spread quickly, painting a picture of a vibrant young woman with an infectious smile, full of ambition and life. She was last seen leaving her apartment in the late afternoon, her groceries in hand, and an energy that suggested nothing could go wrong. Yet now, the sense of security her community felt was evaporating fast. As the night deepened, officers began canvassing the apartment complex, shining flashlights across the frozen parking lot, knocking on doors. They found nothing unusual at first, no signs of forced entry, no struggles, no clues. But as they reached the rear of the building, a faint metallic smell hung in the air. It was subtle but unmistakable. Detective Romero's stomach sank. "I've smelled this before," she muttered under her breath. It wasn't fear, it was certainty. In an unsettling twist, just hours after reporting Nikitha missing, the man vanished. Not literally, but effectively. He had boarded a flight to India, leaving friends, family, and authorities scrambling for answers. His sudden departure cast a shadow over his initial concern, turning suspicion into alarm. Every officer involved in the case began connecting dots that didn't quite fit together. How could someone care deeply enough to report a disappearance and then leave the country immediately after? The investigation escalated when officers returned to the apartment. That faint metallic smell led them to the bathroom, a place no one thought to check in the initial sweep. There, smeared across the tile floor and trailing into the closet, was the first undeniable evidence that something horrific had occurred. A small puddle of dark crimson hinted at violence, a quiet scream in an otherwise silent building. And then the unthinkable. Tucked behind a pile of laundry in the closet, a piece of clothing soaked in blood told a story no one wanted to imagine. Whoever was responsible for Nikitha's disappearance wasn't just missing, she was already a victim of something far more sinister. But when detectives opened the locked basement door, what they found changed everything. The discovery in the basement sent shockwaves through the Howard County Police Department. Detective Romero and her team knew they were no longer dealing with a simple missing person case. Every instinct screamed murder. The blood-soaked clothing hinted at a violent struggle, but there was more. A small, torn photograph lying on the floor, edges jagged as if ripped in anger. It was Nikitha, smiling, oblivious to the nightmare that was about to unfold. Next to it, a key card stamped with the initials AS made the room fall silent. Arjun Sharma, the ex-boyfriend who had reported her missing and vanished that same night, was now the prime suspect. Back in India, authorities tracked Sharma's movements. He had checked into a hotel under a false name, attempting to erase his trail. But in the digital age, nothing is truly hidden. Flight records, credit card transactions, even CCTV footage painted a portrait of a man fleeing more than just his hometown. He was running from the consequences of an unthinkable act. Meanwhile, in Maryland, forensic teams began analyzing every inch of the apartment. Fingerprints, hair samples, and digital traces began to paint a terrifyingly meticulous picture. The attack had been planned, precise, and personal.
Friends and family of Nikitha were in shock. They spoke of her ambition, her kindness, her love for life. But investigators uncovered an underlying tension, a secret argument between Nikitha and Sharma just days before her disappearance. Neighbors recalled shouting late at night, doors slamming, the unmistakable echo of anger that many had ignored, assuming it was just another fight. This revelation gave the investigation a new layer. This wasn't just about a missing woman, it was about betrayal, obsession, and rage. Detective Romero grew obsessed with the question, why flee halfway across the world? The answer lay in the intersection of opportunity and fear. Sharma had believed he could escape justice by hiding on another continent, but law enforcement's reach stretched farther than he imagined. Collaboration between US and Indian authorities began, every call, every message, every transaction scrutinized. Every piece of the puzzle was critical because time was slipping away and the window to catch him alive was closing. Then, just as the investigation seemed to stabilize, a shocking revelation arrived. Surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store showed Sharma purchasing items that suggested premeditation, cleaning supplies, gloves, even a large black trash bag. He hadn't panicked, he had planned. And in that footage, there was something even more alarming, a second figure briefly visible in the background, watching him. Could Sharma have had an accomplice? Or worse, was someone else manipulating the scene? Someone who wanted to ensure Nikitha's death remained hidden? The detectives returned to the crime scene once more, going over every detail, every corner, every shadow. That's when they found it, a hidden drawer in the kitchen containing a journal Nikitha had kept. Her last entries revealed fear, doubt, and heartbreak. She had confided in the pages about feeling threatened, about arguments turning violent, and about her growing unease with Sharma's increasingly controlling behavior. The writing was frantic, desperate, every word a warning. And then came the final shock of Chapter 2. Buried at the very end of the journal was a single, chilling line. "If something happens to me, look where no one would think to look." Detective Romero stared at the journal, her pulse quickening. That line, cryptic and haunting, promised a discovery that would shatter everything the investigation thought it knew. What she found next would redefine the entire case. The journal's cryptic warning led Detective Romero and her team back to the basement, retracing every step, re-examining every shadow. They knew Nikitha had hidden something, a piece of the puzzle meant to expose the danger lurking right under their noses. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a heartbeat, every flash of the flashlight revealing a new clue. And then, behind a false panel in the basement wall, they found it, a small, blood-stained box. Inside were personal items, photographs, and a USB drive. The photographs were disturbing, evidence of arguments, bruises barely visible but undeniable. The USB drive, however, was the key. Forensic experts worked quickly. The drive contained text messages, voice recordings, and videos detailing threats, confrontations, and, most damning of all, a recorded argument between Nikitha and Sharma in the very apartment where she would meet her fate. In it, Sharma's voice was calm, manipulative, even menacing. He didn't shout, didn't rage, he planned. Every word suggested premeditation, every sentence exposed control. He had reported her missing not out of worry, but to create an alibi while orchestrating the perfect escape. Meanwhile, international authorities had tracked Sharma to Mumbai, India. His movements were erratic now, desperate. He had tried to disappear into the crowd, but law enforcement coordination between continents was relentless. His hotel was surrounded, border patrols alerted, and Interpol notices circulated. Forensic evidence and digital footprints had painted him as the prime suspect with irrefutable proof. The final confrontation unfolded in a crowded Mumbai airport. Sharma, realizing his freedom was gone, attempted to flee through the chaos of travelers, blending into the throng.
But the coordinated effort was flawless. Indian police, in tandem with U.S. law enforcement, intercepted him just as he attempted to board another flight. His arrest was swift, precise, and cold. In custody, Sharma finally faced the reality he had tried to escape. Every lie, every manipulation, every brutal act exposed. Back in Maryland, Detective Romero reviewed the case files, the photographs, and Nikitha's journal. The pieces came together. The arguments, the threats, the premeditation, the flight, the hidden evidence. It was a story of obsession and betrayal, a cautionary tale of how someone close could orchestrate terror under the guise of concern. Friends and family mourned Nikitha, but justice had finally caught up to the man who tried to outrun his crimes. Yet even in resolution, there was an eerie, haunting detail. The recordings revealed something no one had anticipated. A second voice, quiet, almost imperceptible, speaking during the argument. It was a subtle influence, a manipulation that suggested Sharma may not have been entirely alone in his planning. Was there an accomplice, or was it a shadow of his own fractured psyche? The question remained unanswered, lingering like smoke in the air. Nikitha's story, though ending with justice served, left a chilling imprint. The reminder that danger often comes from the people we think we know, that betrayal can be calculated, and that one moment of escape can never undo the horrors committed. They thought the case was closed, the killer behind bars, but the echoes of that night, the blood-stained basement, and the hidden clues would haunt everyone involved forever. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.